Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the Thursday Night Thunder, coming to you from Daytona for the Daytona 175. As you can see, the drivers are out there at the moment qualifying, and we'll give you the latest update very shortly. But before we do, I'd like to welcome into the Combox my co-host tonight is Steve Hoppett. Welcome Steve, how are you going tonight?
Yeah, good day Bernie, good day viewers, how are you? Yeah, back for another rant tonight, and we'll check out some action. I'm looking forward to a big one tonight, Bernie. Love my super speedways.
It's going to be absolutely awesome, I tell you. Bit rushed here tonight, folks. We've had a few technical issues in the background, so the pictures are going to be a little bit stuttery as this broadcast progresses, but hopefully it won't put you off some great racing action here at Daytona. But Edward Foster at the moment, he's set provisional pole, and S. Mason, and that's a new name I haven't heard before, he's 1/4 thousandths of a second behind him. So the splits are extremely close tonight.
Yeah, they're very close tonight, Bernie. A little bit of something about Shannon Mason, actually. Practice, he blew an engine in that car. So the team had quite a bit to do tonight. I was actually watching him at the time as he's giving it a hard time down the back straight, pushing it as hard as he could. And the telltale big puffs of smoke coming out the back of it. So they've had to change the engine in that car, and it's obviously doing the job for him at the moment.
Yeah, fantastic. And I tell you what, these graphics tonight are absolutely shocking. I apologise to all the viewers out there. It's something I'm definitely going to have to look into before tomorrow night.
Oh, well, we'll just have to do the best we can tonight, Bernie, and we've got lots of great racing to distract us away from that.
Yeah, we certainly do. So at the moment, 4 minutes to go. Looking at our top five, we've got Jason Martin at the moment. You can see him on screen just coming in. Pit crew should go to action very shortly, and his time was a 57.008, best time 49.822, and that puts him on provisional pole. Jake Blackhall, well, Jake's back again tonight, and he's sitting second on the grid at the moment. Then we've got Edward Foster in third, Daniel Stevens fourth, and Shannon Mason. That rounds out your top five.
Yeah, not far behind him, though, is Craig Lawless, and then Joshua Carroll Walden, Jake Maloney on a 49.9. That's a little bit unusual. Josh Micklemore also back there in the 49s. Norman Clark, Darren Lord, Stephen Clark, the Sandman. He's given it a shot tonight, but hasn't been able to find the time that he needs just yet, and that takes you up to spot 13 on the grid so far.
Yeah, so fantastic. It's good to see Stephen Sandman back again. And sitting 14th at the moment. We've got Roger Clark out there, the series organiser. He's down in 17th, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. And Dave Douglas all the way down at 20th. But we've seen Dave through these races. He generally moves his way up. He's a bit, how would you put it? He comes under the radar a little bit, but keep an eye out for him towards the end of this race.
Oh, absolutely. There's a few good names in there. We've a very strong field tonight, Bernie. Dave Douglas, Matt Clowett, Riley Curtis, Stephen Williams, Darren O'Brien, and Terry Marwood. This is just a fantastic field. We should get some incredible racing out of this. Although being a super speedway, anything can happen. If somebody gets sucked up into somebody else's draft when they least expect it, a little bit of a coming together could bring some sort of action that some people look forward to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hopefully we'll get a bit of an action, but hopefully I'm looking forward to a very good race here. Of course, the guys are out in the Xfinity cars tonight, and first time we've seen them running here, Thursday Night Thunder. Of course, the Monday night K&N series, they're running the truck series. We'll have a highlights package coming to you on that, folks, during the Daytona 500, which will come your way this Saturday afternoon from, I think it's about 2:40 p.m. We go live Australian Eastern Daylight Standard Time.
I believe that's when the coverage starts. The boys will actually be on track, I think, at about 1:50 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Trying to get their setups right and that sort of stuff, since it's an open setup series on Saturday with the full-length Daytona 500 kicking that off. But Tuesday night K&Ns, Monday night trucks, and Thursday night, Sunday in the Xfinity Series. And it's just been an absolute smorgasbord of Daytona races for the last week, because every series has started at this track.
Yeah, that's right, and it's always a great track to start at, that's for sure. And as always, the cars are beautifully presented once again, but we should really give a shout out to tonight. We're actually using the track cams for gourmets, and you can get those at www.trackcams22.com, and they've been gracious enough to allow us to run those tonight. So thank you to Istvan and trackcams.com.
Yeah, no, fantastic stuff. And I've heard some very good things. Looking forward to seeing these camera angles. So, yeah, it should add to the action tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly will. So we're just waiting now for the guys to finish their qualifying. Then we'll take you through the grid. And I'll tell you what, Steve, we've got an awesome lineup here. 25 cars we will see take to the grid tonight. And hopefully we'll get some non-stop action with a few safety cars pace cars thrown in, and it should be great racing.
Yeah, there's that old slip of the tongue again, Bernie. Yeah, no, and it's a very strong field too, because this is an invitational series. All 25 of these guys are experienced, higher level licenses, guys that ANZCAR have seen running in their series. I believe we've got a couple of Americans in there as well. I know that there was a couple looking at running, so I don't know whether they made it in or not, but there's a couple of names there I'm not familiar with, so that could even be them. But no, it's going to be a great series, a great level of talent, a very strong field on a very fast track.
It certainly is, and the guys will start their gridding now, so let's see if we can get this grid working. Yes, we can, so let's have a look at this. I don't know if this grid's right. What do you think? We've got Danny G starting from provisional pole on the inside. On the outside, he's got Jason Martin starting in the number 21. Out of the second row tonight, we'll see Jake Blackhall in the 97. He's joined on the grid by Edward Foster in the 53. Starting out of the third row tonight, Dave Douglas in the number 10. Keep an eye on him. Daniel Stevens will also start next to him in the number 11. Starting in row 4 tonight, Shannon Mason in the number 55, and he's joined on the grid by the 444 of Craig Lawless. Out of row 5, Thomas Hinds is taking to the track tonight. We'll keep an eye on him, a very exciting driver no matter what he races, in the number 52, and he's got right next to him Joshua Carroll Walden in the number 35. Starting out of row 6 is Roger Clark in the 09, and right beside him Jake Maloney in the 29. Out of row 7, Josh Micklemore in the number 2, another driver to keep an eye on, folks, and he's joined by the magician Norman Clark in the number 14. Starting out of row 8, Darren Lord in the 015 and Stephen Sandman Clark in the number 96 will be starting on the outside. Row 9 tonight, we have Darren McKenzie in the 08, David Webb 4, he's going to be in the number 12. Out of row 10, James Zeitz in the number 19, and he's joined on the grid by Riley Curtis. He's driving the number 93 tonight. Then we have Phil Otto in the 66 and Matt Clowett in the 54. That completes row 11. Still we go back. Row 12, Stephen Williams in the 98. He's joined on the grid by Darren J. O'Brien in the number 27. Terry Marwood, well, he starts in row 13 and he's all by himself in the number 7. Hopefully it'll be a lucky 13 for him tonight.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I expect Terry to actually make up some distance early on. I don't think he'll take any stupid chances, but he certainly knows how to pick up a few places. Mind you, in this field, that could be a whole lot tougher than it usually is.
Yeah, well, it's going to be very, very high expectations, that's for sure, isn't it? And it's going to be awesome racing. Don't know about you, but I've got to move my headphones a bit because I'm getting deafened by these NASCARs. They really make a noise when they get going, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they make it a little bit hard to hear anything else, but it's just the part of the spectacle and the magic of it all. There is, I've got to agree with what you said earlier, Bernie. There's some beautiful liveries out there. The cars are very well presented. They look fantastic under lights. I'm loving the number 66 paint job on Phil Otto's vehicle out there at the moment. And the Sandman, look, very nicely turned out vehicle, looks very smart in the HRS colour scheme. The white car with the red and black touch-ups and signage. There's some great colour schemes out there. Just taking a look down at a couple of them now. They're all just, you can't even sit and mention them all one at a time. And we go green, and they're getting led away by car 24, which is Danny G. And he's got Jason Martin right alongside him. And, of course, Jake Blackhall right up behind him.
Yeah, and last time we had a bit of a practice run last week, folks. The high line just did not work at Daytona. We'll see how they go at the moment. And once again, the low line's coming in. We've got Danny G at the moment. He is leading this race in the number 24. And I'll just update my thing. We've got Jake Blackhall, though. He's right behind him in second on the low line. Up high, though, we've got Jason Martin. He's looking for help, but at the moment, once again, that high line just is not working.
I can see Jason Martin's definitely lost a couple of spots there. He's definitely dropped back. He's got Edward Foster all over the back of him now. And the front three really sitting there on the low line, that they have a fantastic edge at the moment over the guys on the high line. But we'll see how things go as the tyres wear down too, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. So if we have a look at your top five as they stand, Danny G's leading Jake Blackhall. Dave Douglas already up to third in the number 10. Jason Martin, he's still pushing that high line in fourth, and it looks like he might have Shannon Mason on the high line with him, trying to push him forward. But I think Jason will want to get down low, but he's just being held out at the moment, and he's got to watch himself, because as they get up to momentum, he could find himself slipping back to the longest train there is here tonight.
He's making inroads now as he pulls up alongside Danny G, and he's taking Edward Foster with him. But when they get on they'll go in the straight here, and it'll be dead even. And as they come around through the turn, you might see a little bit of a drop off on the high line. I'm not sure. He's still fighting for it though.
Yeah, he's sitting up there, isn't he? And I think he's starting to get a bit of a train behind him now, as one of the cars further back now ducks up to the high line. They think that's going to come in, and no, he jumps back down. So it's great racing here at the moment. Edward Foster, though, he's in the number 53 in fourth position. He's the one trying to push Jason up to the front at the moment, and right behind him, it looks like he's got Daniel Stevens also giving him a hand in the number 11. Down low, though, we've got Jason Martin. He's being pushed along at the moment. No, it's not Danny G, sorry. And Danny's being pushed along by Jake Blackhall at the moment down there. But it's line ball at the moment. 4 laps of 70 here. Great racing. No incidents yet, folks. And nothing separates the whole field here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, they're starting to close a little bit now, but there was a noticeable gap after Darren McKenzie and Norman Clark. Then there was a bit of a gap back to the rest of the field, but they seem to have closed that up right now. And yeah, Jason's still struggling, Jason Martin, on that outside line. But this is the way it's going to go all night long. And if there's somebody out there that knows about going the distance and picking up a victory, it's definitely Jason Martin. So don't count him out. The outside line may yet work for him.
Yeah, well, he's definitely trying, isn't he? You can see here from the helicopter cam here just how close these guys are on the inside. Nothing is separating them as they go up the back straight here. Jason Martin going a bit high, pulls it down once more, and they continue on their way.
Yeah, just actually taking a bit of a look towards the back of the field there. Sandman's made up a few spots, but poor Phil Otto sitting back there on his lonesome. He's in danger of actually losing the pack if he doesn't get a little bit more speed out of that car. As we go back to about mid-pack, everybody's still holding line, everybody's still doing the business. although there's a bit of a gap back on the outside line now from Darren McKenzie back to, I can't even see the number on that vehicle. Behind Darren McKenzie there's a bit of a gap opening up again to the back half of the field.
Yeah, they're starting to get that gap going, aren't they? And you can see the number 2 at the moment. He's just dropping off. That's actually Josh Micklemore back down here in 16th position. And the big incident up front here. And Josh Micklemore, he threaded through that whole field. So let's have a look at that replay, should we? Try and unpack what has happened here tonight.
Yeah, not completely sure. It was actually the number 54 car that I was trying to look at.
Yeah, that's Matt Clowett there, and we'll jump back and have a look at this replay and see if we can unpack it. Of course, we're using the overlay tonight from BOG, iRacing Broadcast Overlay Graphics, so it's great that the... let's jump back and have a further look here.
Yeah, I'm just actually taking a look at it myself now. Everything seemed to be fine until they got about halfway through the turn. And as they started to exit the corner, somebody sneezed. Oh, yes. I think it was Jason Martin.
Yeah, Jason Martin was involved in that. Daniel Stevens as well. And we'll go back and see if we can see this. And we're catching them now on the back straight here, folks. Keep an eye up high on the 2153. They're both involved in this incident, and we'll just have a look at what caused it. Last time we saw incidents like this, it was bump drafting, but you can see now Daniel Stevens right up. Yes, it was. He actually was bump drafting, just caught the back of Jason Martin. It lifted him in the air, and of course at those speeds just a slight tap and you're gone. And we've once again seen what happens with bump drafting, and the 21's been turned around. Bad night for them.
Yeah, he's got a fair bit of damage to the front end of that car too, Bernie, and the rear. So Jason's going to be looking at getting some repairs made on that. There's a long way to go, and he's certainly not going to want to be suffering from aerodynamic issues.
Yeah, exactly right. And we can see them bringing that car in now, trying to get it repaired as the rest of the field streams past. It's going to turn into a very not long night here for the 21. I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do to this car. Just have a look at it. It's just absolutely trashed.
Yeah, no, not looking very good at all. We'll just see what they can do, though.
Yeah, the crew's going, looking at it, but the number 11 also, Danny Stevens' car, that's not going anywhere fast. So I tell you what, it's claimed a lot of scalps here with that big incident. If we go through, try to let you know, folks, the drivers affected as we see the Cat car now coming out of the pits, but just trying to get our telemetry working here. But the 21 has definitely been affected. It looks like the 53, Edward Foster, is also in the pits seeking repairs. So is Daniel Stevens. Thomas Hins, you can see Thomas down there. There's repairing his car. Joshua Carroll Walden also affected. And David Webb in the number 12. His car's also pretty bad.
Yeah, there's a few wrecks out there that are going to be in bad need of repair. I'm a little bit surprised at how bad that actually looked. But as I said, it only takes one issue on a super speedway. Was probably a little bit optimistic, hoping that we were going to get a lot more green than we certainly will now. But it's still early, and there's plenty of time for repairs and to get back into it. So may even see somebody come from a lap or two down to actually get on the podium for this one.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we're talking about Josh Micklemore, weren't we, and how far down he was. That was a blessing in disguise. He's up to 4th position. He'll start in the second row down low. But I tell you what, the man that is going to lead them off is the magician. Once again, Norman Clark right up the front here, avoiding all the carnage. He's starting on the outside. We've got Jake Blackhall in the 97. Will be starting below him. And then, of course, Dave Douglas, we said earlier, keep an eye on him. He's sitting in 3rd, Josh Micklemore 4th. So it's going to be interesting racing.
Yeah, no worries at all. I was just listening to some of the chat from the drivers, and I think it sort of took them by surprise that we had that incident happen so early on in the race tonight. So, but yeah, it's certainly shaken things up with positions in the field. And as you said, we've got at the moment I can see car number 54, I believe it is, Matt Clout. It looks like he's actually sitting there behind the pace car. So my positioning hasn't actually updated yet, but they've gone green and back underway.
Yeah, so Norman Clark, he is starting on the inside here from pole position. He leads them off. Jake Blackhall now on the outside trying to make that line work. And he's got Dave Douglas for company pushing him once again. They start this pushing, and I'm not surprised they've had an incident. We saw in warm-up last week, any sort of bump drafting around here, it'll take the air off that rear wing and they'll go round. And but I think there's a bit more to that. I think Danny Stevens might have made contact. But getting back to the race, we've got Norman Clark at the moment on the high line and Josh Micklemore now on the low line making it work. He's got the 55 Shannon Mason in the white car pushing him along. The car pushing Norman Clark is Jake Blackhall on the high line with Dave Douglas beside him. But at the moment, this whole complexion of the race has been tipped on its head due to that incident. 10 laps out of 70, Steve.
Yeah, actually it was the 14 car I was looking at, not the 54, but the camera angle I was looking at. I couldn't quite read the green numbers on the orange paint job. As there's one of the cars now becoming a dead set back marker. He's just going a lap down now. But they're all close and they know there's a long way to go. But yeah, it's only early and we'll see what happens with those cars that required repair.
Yeah, well, we just had a quick look in the pit lane and they're still going. As a 55 gets a bit squirrely, pulls it back in. He nearly went back up onto that high line and he would have caused carnage. But at the moment, check out the top. We've only got Jake Blackhall up there and he's being pushed along by the 97. Well, that's Jake Blackhall and he's pushing. Who is he pushing? The 14, I think, Norman Clark on the high line.
Yeah, the 97's pushing the 14, which is Norman Clark on the front row on the outside line with Josh Micklemore on the inside. And that 97 car of Jake Blackhall, he's certainly giving Norman a bit of a touch up there, just putting the message through that he wants to get by. But yeah, they're running nice and smoothly at the moment. Number 24, of course, Danny G. He's sitting third car back on the inside line, so he's got his eyes wide open at the moment, with car 55 being Shannon Mason in front of him, and he's right up behind Josh Micklemore, who's leading at the moment. And Norman's certainly got his hands full with Jake Blackhall there at the moment, and of course Jake's got the number 96 car all over him, who's that's Stephen Sandman Clark.
Yeah, and we've jumped into the cockpit cam here with Jake Blackhall. Just have a look, folks, how these cars are moving around at these speeds. This is how they get unstuck, just the slightest touch. Look at Jake there working the wheel and the car in front of him. That's the Magician, and how much they are moving around at these speeds.
Yeah, just have a little bit of trouble here and over the top of these cars at the moment. They are making a fair old racket, Bernie. But yeah, look, hopefully that's just sort of gotten the butterflies and everything out of the way with that incident, and the boys will settle down a bit now. We'll just see what's happening as they come around that way. I'm just looking a bit further back in the pack at the moment. They all seem to be scattering just a little bit as you get further back. So a couple of the guys obviously suffering from aerodynamic issues after that incident.
Yeah, well, a lot of them would be, because I don't think they get any fast repairs here at all tonight. That's why we've got a lot of cars still sitting in the pits. Looking deeper in the field, we can see the 98, but the last one on the train that's got a lot of damage, that's Jake Maloney. He's just hanging on, but I guess, you know, all the pit crew can do is hope for another pace car or a caution to come out so they can try and get that car a bit more repaired. Of course, what we've seen, if a caution comes out from the front here, it generally takes out a good whack of the field.
Oh yeah, and there's certainly some close and up close and personal racing going on at the front there at the moment. between the number 2 and number 55 car. So Shannon Mason certainly letting Josh Mickelmore know that he is there. And right behind him, of course, Danny G just keeping his eye on them and waiting for an opportunity.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Josh is going to have to keep an eye on that 55. Have a look at how close he's running there, and he's right up under that rear wing. That's we've seen, as I keep on saying, that when they're running that close, don't be surprised if a slightest tap will turn Josh around.
It wouldn't take much at these speeds, Bernie. Shannon's getting a bit of clean air there at the moment. Now he's jumped back in behind Josh, and Danny G's right up on him. And we've got car 10, Dave Douglas. Oh, he's just dropped back a little bit now, but he was right up under the rear wing of Danny G. And Jake Maloney still all over the back of Norman Clark. These guys are just not letting up. They know what it's about, and the guys in front definitely know that the rest of them are there.
They certainly do, and we're just having a look from the nose cam there, getting a very good shot of what it looks like underneath a Xfinity NASCAR. Here's a 24, it gets it all a bit shaky there, down onto the skirt, pulls it up nicely. I thought he was going to lose it for a minute, but that split the pack, and we've now got a pack of 5 up front, and the rest have dropped off slightly.
And of course, the domino effect in all that was when Danny actually lost a little bit of speed there and dropped down below the yellow line. It affected everybody around him. So that, of course, split the pack. But now car number 10, Dave Douglas, he's actually taken the initiative, and the rest of them have dropped in behind him. They're all starting to form a bit of a train. To try and actually, a group that size, I mean, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles. If they can actually bunch up, and somebody's actually decided to take the outside line, now another one has. So yeah, we're going to see a fair bit of drafting here to try and make up some space and get back in touch with that lead pack, who still seem to manage to have everything under control.
Yeah, so if we look at that lead pack at the moment, Josh Mickelmore, he's leading. Right behind him, he's got Shannon Mason in the 55. As we were saying before, Highline, Norman Clark. He's being helped along now by the 97, which is Jake Blackhall. But Stephen Sandman Clark in the 96, he's in this pack as well, and he's sitting up there in 4th position. The last car in this pack is the 54, and that's Matt Clowett. So a lot of high-level drivers up here duking it out. Lap 19, folks, of 70. And I tell you what, Steve, the laps are ticking down very quickly.
They are. That's, would you believe, it's actually 9 laps since we had our last caution period went green. So, because I believe that was on about lap 10. So we've almost gotten to the lap 20 mark. So 10 laps since we had our last incident. And these guys are back under control. Like I said, I think they might have gotten some of the butterflies out of the way. The problem with what it's done is it's actually spread the field out. And there's another car being passed there and having a lap put on him. And it's spread the field out. I'd say give it a little bit more time, another 5-10 laps, and you might see most of these guys bunched up again at the front of the field. But there's a car hanging way back off this lead couple of groups. I think it might actually be Stephen Clark in the number 96 car. And I don't know what's going on with that vehicle. He doesn't appear to have any real speed in it.
Oh, I've got Stephen Clark here in the 96. He's sitting in 3rd at the moment, quite comfortably.
I'll have to take another look at what that car number is, but yeah, somebody's struggling right back there at the moment. And I can see Sandman now. My bad, apologies. Just looking at the this particular camera view, I just thought it was his vehicle, but they're still scattered, and that'll probably go on for a little while. If we get another caution, that'll bunch the field up. But I'd like to think that they'll actually manage to do that themselves without the next pace car either.
Yeah, well, the group's starting to reform now. As we can see, Matthew Clowett there is just starting to bridge that gap. We did have 6 out there. We've got a train of probably around about 10 cars joining the fray now. as Matthew Clowett brings Dave Douglas up. We've got the 54 in there, that's Matthew Clowett. But they've drafted themselves back in, so now it's a matter of sorting themselves out, and they've still got around about 39 laps to do it in.
Oh yeah, there's still plenty of racing to go, and yeah, that main group has become one again. Those two groups, they've managed to compress up a bit, but Norman still sitting on that outside line, and I don't think it's doing him any good at all. The low line, the inside line is definitely where he needs to be, unless he's actually having temperature issues, which I would be very surprised at. But he's maintaining that outside line. It's just not doing him any good. He's dropped back quite a long way because that outside line just doesn't have the speed that he needs to remain competitive in this race so far.
And exactly right, and he's got that huge train below him all drafting. That's going to power him through. I think the problem he's got, Steve, is he can't get down to that low line. He's shut out. He's going to have to wait until this train gets past him. Once that happens, he should jump down to that low line. And this is exactly what we saw last week. That high line just did not work at Daytona, and it looks like it may be the case once again tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and the other drivers, whether they want to let him in or not, at this point, at this speed, in this situation, it wouldn't necessarily be the smart thing to do because you've got the guys behind you, and if you lift to let him in and make a bigger gap and allow those cars on the outside line into the train, it could create another pace car period in itself because of the speed that they're travelling at. So Norman really just has to bide his time. He's an experienced, an old head at this game. He's not new to it. He knows there's lots of racing to go, and all he needs to do, in fact, if a couple of those cars at the back of that train on the inside line moved up behind Norman and the other vehicle, they may very well create a 4-car train on the outside line. And as I say that, Norman's actually just picked up about 3 or 4 spots, and he's back up to about equal 4th on track. So there you go, you see.
Yeah, I was waiting. He had his son Roger down below him before, and I thought, oh, well, Roger, being his son, he'll move over. But I don't think he did. Yeah,
no, not at this speed. And it's not necessarily a case of every man for himself, but it may seem a simple thing to just simply, make a bit of room and let him in. But to be honest, at this speed, with them travelling as close as they are, it's unlikely to be a safe and a very good idea. I've seen it happen a few times where guys have tried to push their way into that low line where there seems to be enough room. But at this speed, you've only got to make just the slightest error. And some great driving by those back markers staying on the outside. They were 3 wide there at one point, Bernie.
Yeah, and that's what Norman's got to watch, doesn't he, on that high line? He's got to make sure he doesn't, that he can clear those back markers. They're doing a great job with all that damage. Just keep him to that high line. So this race, I tell you what, only one caution here, folks, and the laps are ticking down very quickly.
Oh, look, Shannon Mason all over the back of Josh Mickelmore. I mean, Josh will know that he's there. And here comes Norman. He's up alongside Shannon Mason, and he'll have his targets set on that front. He'll be watching Josh Mickelmore, and but see, there you go. See, different part of the track, and he's just dropped a car length back. So that outside line, some parts of the track it's working. In other parts of the track, you just hate being up there. So unfortunately, Daytona is a fast track. It is a speed track. And if you've got the fast line, it's very difficult for the guys on the slower line on the outside unless they get a good push along. And now we've got Roger Clark as the third one in that train on the outside line. So let's hope that 3-car train can make a little bit of an indent on the rest of the field on the inside line there.
Yeah, we're riding now with Roger Clark and can see the sort of traffic he's dealing with. But yeah, that line is starting to come in. Roger's now decided he's going to join his dad up there and see if they can really make it work. As this race ticks down, though, it'll be interesting to see if that high line comes in completely, and Norman can snatch victory here from Josh Mickelmore.
Yeah, it's still anybody's race. I mean, if Josh is lucky enough to hold that position for the remaining laps, then obviously he's going to take victory. But I think Shannon Mason's got other ideas. He's right up under the rear of that number 2 car. And the Sandman's just sitting there and he's taking it easy and he's watching what's going on, going, yeah, come on, touch each other. Please touch each other.
Yeah, Sandman's playing the long game there, isn't he? He's quite happy sitting there, sitting in third and keeping out of trouble. And I tell you what, on the low line, if there is an incident up front, you've probably got a better chance of clearing it than you would if you're up on that high line. Riding here at the moment in the 55 is Shannon Mason, and you can just see how much Josh's car's moving around. And, a lot of road guys say it's just turning left, but have a look at how much these guys have to drive these cars, and they're pretty much driving like 270, 80 kilometres an hour in peak hour traffic.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just keeping an eye on number 97, who's Jake Blackhall, obviously. And I think he's playing a little bit of the game that Stephen Clark's playing at the moment. He's quite happy to just keep an eye on those front runners, keep in touch with them, and be within striking distance if the opportunity arises. Norman's still persevering. There's a couple more guys have joined them on that outside line now. And Roger's now basically coming 3 wide with them.
Yeah, it's getting interesting, isn't it? Have a look up the back here. They got a number of drivers 4 wide just about down here, with Roger Clark threading the needle with his father. And now they settle in. And tell you what, if they had gone into that turn 4 wide, I would have been holding my breath for sure.
Look, I think there was a little bit of a touch there, actually, between Norman and, I can't think who it was now. Matthew Clowett, perhaps. A little bit of a touch there, and it looked like Matt Clowett actually went up and touched the wall, and he lost quite a bit of pace out of all that. But so did Norman. Now he's actually dropped in. Who's that behind? Riley Curtis, behind Roger Clark, and then Norman Clark sitting in 8th at the moment, and Stephen Williams 9th. And there's Terry Marwood, who started right at the back of the pack, and he's now up into 10th. Yeah,
Terry's doing a great job, isn't he, moving forward? And as you said, in 10th. He's right on the end of this train now, but I don't know what Norman's doing here. He was down low, but he just likes to keep that car up high. Maybe it's pushing too much to keep it in the low line.
It's a possibility. I can't think of too many reasons why he would elect to stay up there. It's a little bit strange. There must be a reason for it. As I said, perhaps he's having temperature issues, tyre issues, as you suggested. He's certainly, there's a gap there between himself and the back of that pack. As 2 of them break away to the outside line, so Norman will undoubtedly tack on the back of that and make a 3-car train, and just simply ride it out and see where it ends up, as Josh Mickelmore still continues to defend against Shannon Mason, with Stephen Clark just sitting there waiting for the chance, and of course Jake Blackhall right behind him, and then Dave Douglas, Roger Clark, and Riley Curtis. And as they come across another back marker, they go 3 wide through there.
Yeah, there's a lot of walking wounded out there, folks. I'll go through some of these drivers that are having trouble. Jason Martin in the 21, he was leading until the first incident, and he got turned around. He's circulating, and he's quite a long way down. The 24 laps down to be exact. Jake Maloney in the 29, he has retired from this race. So has James Zeitz in the 19. The other cars out there circulating is David Webb in the number 12. He is 3 laps down. Well, he's now 9 laps down. Thomas Hinds also involved in that, 52. He is 9 laps down. Edward Foster number 53, 5 laps down. Daniel Stevens, 5 laps down. Josh Carroll Walden in the 35 is 2 laps down. And then we've got Darren McKenzie and Darren Lord, both 1 lap down. But I tell you what, there's some big names that are going to be taking away a lot of damaged cars here tonight.
Well, that's right. Very surprising. But in a field like this, they're all pretty much big names. So some of them were going to end up suffering this fate, unfortunately, which is what I said, a quality field. But, as Shannon Mason and Stephen Williams almost come together. But, David Webb in the pits at the moment, the number 12 car. But, there was always bound to be. This happened sooner or later on a super speedway. I just wasn't expecting it to be so many cars with so much damage at that early stage of the race, Bernie.
Well, I guess that's what happens when the front pack sort of becomes unstuck. You're not going to be able to get around there. We did see Josh threading the needle, and he did a great job, but a lot have been caught out. Now, the big question here, Steve, is they've been running a long time under green. There's going to be pit stops, and do you know when we could be expecting them in? This stint has been going for 28 laps.
I would have to say not too long. I believe that's around 26 laps since most of the field had a chance to pit. Since that last pace car caution period. So we're looking at about 26 laps. Any time in the next 5 to 8 laps, we may start seeing the leaders pit if we're still under green, because I think they're going to need to. Their tyres are starting to go off. Their fuel loads will be getting light. And with the lighter fuel loads, you've also got to realise that at these speeds, that makes the car a little bit lighter in the rear end. So that makes the handling, as the tyres go off, it makes the handling a little bit more skittish and a little bit more uncomfortable. So I'd be guessing somewhere in the next 5 to 8 laps, if we're still under green, we'll start to see the leaders come in and pit for tyres and fuel.
Yeah, and what the teams will be doing, they'll be on the radios here, won't they, trying to make deals to work out who they're going to pit with, because the last thing you want to do is, the 98's around, 7 up into the wall.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, there's your pace car lap, so that's the tyres and fuel taken care of right there.
Yeah, that's Terry Marwood in the 98 getting into the Terry Marwood number 7 getting into Stephen Williams there, which has brought out the pace car. Let's have a look at this replay, and it was just just the slightest touch once again, but this time no one got caught up. Keep an eye on the 98 high line here, folks. He's got Josh Micklemore. There he goes, just turns him around. He actually got in to the side, I think, of Shannon Mason, but Shannon kept it going forwards.
Yeah, there was a few good saves in amongst that, but unfortunately neither Terry nor the 98 car, was it, I believe? Stephen Williams. Neither of them were able to actually get a save out of that. Terry Marwood is now, he's still circulating, but I'm not sure where Stephen Williams is. He may have pitted.
Yeah, no, Stephen's up the back there. He's just he's going to bring it into the pits. Doesn't look too bad, but then again, from a distance they don't look too bad. They probably drive like a old medieval chariot with rectangle tyres or something. But here comes the field. We can see Josh Micklemore now leading the field in here. Race of the pit crew. And keep an eye on the 55. He's coming in second. What can Sandman Clark do? Coming into the pit row in 5th position. And let's jump to the pit lane and have a look at who wins the race off pit row here tonight.
Sorry, I got a little bit distracted there. We've actually got a cricket jumping around in the commentary box. So, yeah, he's trying to find a way out. Look, there's going to be a couple of positional changes here, I think. That's what generally happens in this situation. So, and to be honest, even the back markers, I think, should really pit under the pace car. They've been out for quite some time, most of them. So, tyres and fuel, I think, may go close. Probably will need to pit again before the end of the race, depending on how things go. But we might see a couple of positional changes out of the pits there as the leaders jostle. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what we've seen. It looks like Riley Curtis has managed to slip up in behind Josh Micklemore.
Yeah, there's been a few changes. There's a great race off pit road there with between Mason and Micklemore. Shannon Mason in the 55. He beat Micklemore out by the skin of his teeth. If we look at the stops, 14.4 seconds versus 15.9 seconds between those two. So Shannon Mason will start on the low line, Micklemore on the high line. Riley Curtis, as you said as well, 12 seconds brings him second on the grid, or third in the grid, second row. And he's got Jake Blackhall in the 97 joining him as well. And that's your second row now. Third row, Stephen Sandman Clark will start out of fifth, 14.5 seconds. But Dave Douglas in sixth, he did a 13-second stop. The biggest winner out of those stops, though, Steve, would have been the number 54 of Matt Clowett. His was 8.5 seconds, bringing him out to start out of seventh position.
That's a quick pit stop, and that he's benefited out of that in a major way. That really has shaken up the field a bit with the 70 laps. So we've got about 30 left. We're going to see some good racing here. We may even go green for the remainder of this race with any luck. And that's going to make it very difficult for the guys from about fifth back to really get on the podium for this race if we go green for the remainder of this event.
Yeah, and they can make it home just from here. That last stint went for 30 laps. And so we're 30 out now, so they should be able to make it to the end without any further stops if we don't go yellow once again here.
Well, that's exactly right. And it was on 36 laps when I said 5 to 8 laps we should see him come in, but the pace car took care of that. So with that pit stop on we're on lap 40 now, so I think it was like 39 when they went in. But with a couple of laps behind the pace car, that'll do their fuel economy a great deal of good. Not to mention their tyres, as Riley Curtis decides to do a bit of a warm-up, as does Josh Micklemore. But yeah, look, it's going to be exciting stuff for the end of this race. I mean, if they go green and hold something like the positions we're seeing at the moment, those last 10 laps, there's going to be some do-or-die stuff for sure.
Oh, definitely. And further down the pack here in seventh is Roger Clark. And as Moore pit, he's actually moved up 3 positions under caution here. And Norman Clark, he's going to start out of ninth. But Matt Clowett at the moment in the 54, I've got him down at 8th. So we'll just have to wait for them all to form up to get the final positions here to work out who is where. And of course, they're now starting to form up. Pace car lights are out. Keep an eye on Shannon Mason. He will be starting down low, and he's got Josh Micklemore on the high side.
Yeah, I can see a couple of these guys are maintaining gaps. They're not bunching up like they should, which indicates to me that they're going to go for it. They're going to try and get a run up to actually, you may even see some 3-car wide stuff here off the restart, because there's a couple of big gaps in the middle of that field as they grid up behind the pace car. And yeah, to be perfectly honest, I'm not too keen on that idea when I'm actually on track myself. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens when that pace car pulls in round about the end of this lap as they come around onto the front straight, Bernie.
Yeah, and we'll see if any mind games are going to be played here. It's probably a little bit too early for that, but see how they go. Shannon Mason will lead them off, waiting for the pace car to come in now. Keep an eye on the 93 Riley Curtis right behind him. And Josh Micklemore, it looks like he's got Jake Blackhall on the high side as well, and see what they can do. Shannon Mason now puts a foot down. Josh Micklemore goes with him on the high side. We're green once again here at the Daytona 175, folks. And now Jake Blackhall, he's abandoned Josh, and he's jumped straight to the low line.
Yeah, Josh is stuck on the outside there, and Shannon's got the edge that he needs now with Riley Curtis just in that position on the low line, and of course Jake Blackhall behind him. But Dave Douglas pulling up behind Josh Micklemore as they head up that back straight, get a little bit of head of steam up, so Josh can actually pull up alongside Shannon, but will be interesting to see if he can actually hold that there, because Norman certainly didn't have any real luck with that outside line earlier on, and he's actually gone back to the outside line now with Danny G not far behind him on the inside line, and he'll pull up alongside Norman Clark fairly quickly. Stephen Sandman Clark's lost out badly on all of that. He's actually now back to looks like around about 7th or 8th. So he's lost out badly out of all that.
Yeah, he's just getting back up to momentum now. But have a look at Riley Curtis's rear end of that car, Stephen. Give me your impression. The whole rear end stoved in there. How is that going to affect, one, his turn in, and two, is it going to affect any of his top end speed?
Oh, it should, absolutely. I mean, with the amount of damage to the rear end of that, the 93 car, yeah, I don't see how he's going to have the aerodynamics and the downforce to maintain speed. I mean, at the moment, he's giving the illusion that he's got plenty of it because he's in that 5-car train. Dave Douglas has actually turned Josh Micklemore.
Yeah, and the hell's broken loose here. We've got Jake Blackhall up in the wall, and tell you what, let's jump back here and have a look at that. But it's claimed once again quite a few scalps here. Let's jump back to the replay and check this out.
Yeah, I didn't see whether Josh moved down on Dave Douglas or not. I was under the impression that Dave was actually on the inside line, so not quite sure what happened there, unless Dave Douglas was on the outside and got a run on Josh Micklemore, but we'll see that right now on your replay.
Yeah, he basically just touched the rear end again. It's pretty much a replay of what we saw in that first big incident. Just tapped the inside rear fender enough to tip him around, but that's claimed Jake Blackhall as well. He went up hard, and he's got a lot of damage. Also, I think Stephen Sandman Clark was also involved in that. We saw him, I think, going backwards down Pit Road.
Yeah, I've got to be perfectly honest, Bernie. From that, it looked like Josh Micklemore actually got a little bit loose in the rear, and almost as though he got a bit light in the rear end, which would have caused him to lose a touch of speed. And because it just appeared that way, and gave Dave Douglas absolutely nowhere to go. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, and then it looked like the 97 of Jake Blackhall came down and got Sandman. He's escaped a fair bit of damage. We're having a look at the rear of his car now for the fans that follow Sandman, but he'll have to come in to change those tyres, of course, and his underwear.
Actually, just looking at it again, Bernie, that's pretty much, I think, exactly what's happened. As they've come through that turn, Josh Micklemore has actually got it a little bit loose, and the tail end of the car has actually crept up the track, which would have caused him to lose speed, and Dave Douglas nowhere to go, and he's given him a tap, turned him around, and mayhem ensued. And of course, as everybody either scattered to avoid the wreck, they probably actually got cleaned up by somebody else that they weren't aware was there. But that looks like that's what's happened. Josh has gotten a little bit loose in the rear. He's starting to lose it up the track, and Dave Douglas nowhere to go. He's giving him a tap around him.
Yeah, so Douglas is in the pits now getting that car serviced. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of bent cars out here tonight, folks, but we'll see who comes out first. Riley Curtis, he stayed out, as we can see now. So did Roger Clark. Norman Clark, he also stayed out. And then the 27, Danny G, he wasn't involved in that, so, they're happy to jump a few positions. And Craig Lawless in the 444. Haven't seen much of him tonight, but he's sitting there in 5th position. Looking down at the guys that were involved in that, well, Josh Micklemore, he's still in the pits getting service, as is Dave Douglas. Jake Blackhall is also in the pits. And for the fans out there, Stephen Sandman Clark, I think he might just be coming out now.
Well, actually, I'm not surprised at the guys who have stayed out there, Bernie. It's only 6 laps since we went green. So, of course, they'd still have the tyres are likely to be okay. The fuel is likely to be pretty good. What we've got to expect with some of those other cars, they did get heavy contact in all that. So they've gone in to try and get some sort of repair and take the chance while they're under pace car to freshen up the tyres and the fuel to make sure that they can hopefully get to the end if we go green all the way.
Yeah, well, I think they'll be able to do that. The question is, though, is this going to put the guys down any laps? Let's have a look where pit lane is at the moment. We can see Dave Douglas now just coming out to stay on the lead lap. And for the fans out there, Josh Micklemore, Stephen Clark, Jake Blackhall, they're all out of the pits to stay on that lead lap. But with the amount of damage they've got, I don't see them factoring into this race for the rest of the night.
That's a possibility. They may struggle from here because of the damage they may have just succumbed to. I'm actually seeing Josh Mickelmore back in 16th or 17th at the moment, 17th behind Jake Blackhall. So, but as far as Craig Lawless is concerned, he may have been collateral damage in that very first incident, and that's actually cost him the chance to be anywhere near the front pack. But now, of course, with the way things have panned out, Craig Lawless has managed to get up towards the front, but I think he may even be a couple of laps down. I'm just actually checking for a position. No, I've actually got him listed as being 5th, but I don't know whether he's on the lead lap as such.
That's Craig Lawless. Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, he's in 5th, but you're right. He got a lot of that collateral damage on the first incident. But we'll see how he goes. We're just having a look further back to see how badly damaged Micklemore, Blackhall and Sandman Clark were. They don't look too bad. A lot straighter in the rear end anyway than Riley Curtis, that's for sure. Looks like Riley's gone and found one of those bollards, you know, and done the old classic reverse in and drive off sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm still surprised that he was able to maintain enough speed to stay at the pointy end of the field with that lead pack. But as I said, he was in a train of about 6 cars or something, so that gives the illusion that he's got the speed because he's actually right smack in the middle of a group, and the drafting would actually help. But if Riley gets out on his own, I think he's going to find it pretty tough going to catch up with the other guy.
Well, this is when we're going to find out, isn't it? He's going to lead the field off on the front row. He's got no one drafting him. Up on the high line, you can see the number 9, Roger Clark. Roger's going to be joined by Danny G in the 24 on that high line. Down low is Norman Clark. We'll see how Norman goes. He's tended to like that high line all night tonight, starting the low line. We'll see if he pushes up. The 08, Darren McKenzie will start out of 5th in the 3rd row, and then the 444. Craig Lawless will be starting next to him, but pace car will be in very shortly here. We're going to go racing, and Riley Curtis should lead them off.
I would actually expect Roger Clark to get the better of him on the restart because I don't know whether Riley's going to have the speed to be competitive against a car that doesn't have that amount of damage. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. I know he's got Norman Clark behind him, but until they actually get up to race speed, I don't know whether the draft is going to do him any good. And I've got a feeling that Roger will just get the edge on him. Maybe not blast away from him, but I've got a feeling that he's going to have better aerodynamics and downforce, and he may just take advantage of that to take the lead.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely find out. And the other question is with Norman Clark, that car, is it going to stick to the low line or is he going to have to go for the high line? Here we go. Riley Curtis puts the foot down. He's got the jump on Roger. Roger's trying to squeeze him a little bit. That's not going to work. Now we'll see as they get up to speed, does that rear end damage of the 93 start to affect him? He's got absolutely no one around him. Roger's got Danny G up there pushing him, and but Riley's still holding on. He just needs a drafting partner.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he's actually carrying that amount of speed. and he's giving Roger a bit of a run, but Roger's edging ahead of him now. On the flat, he wasn't shaking Roger, which told me he was in a lack of speed there, probably because of no downforce. And as soon as they got onto the flat straight, Roger managed to edge ahead, but now Riley's coming back alongside of him again. So this is going to be a bit of a tug of war at the front.
Yeah, and as I thought, Norman Clark, he went straight to that high line. That's where his car's happiest. Now Craig Lawless, he's starting to give Riley Curtis a bit of a help here. Poor Riley got a bit abandoned there. Everyone jumped up behind Roger. But also behind Lawless is we've got Stephen Williams in the 98 coming up to lend them a hand. We've got 20 laps of racing to go here, folks, at Daytona, and it's still anybody's race.
I've just noticed that Phil Otto has actually just dropped back about 5 spots into all that, and Norman Clark, I think, might have seen the writing on the wall. He's jumped back to the outside line again. Seems to be his favourite game plan tonight, and I think he's actually trying to get back up behind Danny G and try and get at least a 3 to 5 car train going on the outside line, so that they can actually get some speed going on that outside line and get ahead of the inside line pack, which is being led by a very wounded Riley Curtis.
Yeah, and I'm just having a look for the fans out there. Josh Micklemore at the moment, he's sitting in 9th position. Terry Marwood in 10th. Further down, Dave Douglas down there in 12th with Matt Clough at 13th. Jake Blackhall, he's all the way down in 15th position at the moment. And Stephen Sandman Clark, he's sitting in 17th. Big incident up in the mid-pack.
Yep, there we go. I saw that one happening.
So I'm just having a look who was involved in that. Jake Blackhall once again was involved. The number 7, Terry Marwood, I tell you what, he's had a few scrapes tonight. He was also involved in that. Let's jump back and have a look at this replay and see how this unfolded.
It actually looks like the number 98 car of Stephen Williams. Yeah, he's gotten a little bit loose there, and he might have gotten a tap before and after. And that's put him across the track, and everybody else is just collateral damage once that happens.
Yeah, exactly right. Terry had nowhere to go. Shannon Mason also involved in that. We can see Josh Micklemore and Jake Blackhall once again involved in that incident. But you're right, once they get loose there in tight pack racing like that, there's absolutely nowhere they can go. And we saw Josh earlier tonight in that first one get out of jail free, but he had nowhere to go tonight.
Yeah, there's been a lot of innocent bystanders out there tonight, and in such a quality field, it just shows that super speedway is the great equaliser. It really is. When you get up to these speeds, you only need the slightest bit of movement, the slightest bit of getting caught up in somebody's draft, and this is what happens. A quality field, great top-line drivers, fantastic stuff. Unfortunately, super speedway, these same guys, at a mile or mile and a half track, this wouldn't have happened. So it's just the way it goes, and it's very easy to fall into that trap. So it's certainly sorting out the field. I mean, we've got guys at the front now who were nowhere near the front 4 or 5 positions only 10 or 15 laps ago.
Oh, it's been turning the race on its head, hasn't it? Every time we've had a caution out here tonight, and we've got having a look at the field at the moment, who's going to be leading the guys off, and Roger Clark in the 9, he will be leading them back off to green. Just having a look to see if we can get any stats on how many laps he has led. I don't think he's actually led any, so we'll see how he goes here. Of course, he's in a bit of a well-handling car. He's been up the top 10 all night, and he's got Riley Curtis, who surprisingly still has a rocket ship considering all the damage he's carrying in that rear end.
Oh, absolutely. That's been a real surprise packet for me. I cannot believe that Riley's still at the pointy end. He's sitting second as there goes the lucky dog, and taking a free trip around past go and collecting $200. And I've just Craig Lawless sitting 4th after what happened earlier in the night that put him so far back in the field that I'm sure he actually surprised he's where he is. sitting 4th position with Norman Clark behind him, and the 08 car of Darren McKenzie. He's been Johnny on the spot in just about every time there's been an incident, and he's been the one that's walked away without a scratch. I can't see a whole lot of damage on that car from the camera angle I'm viewing, and he was right smack in front of that last incident, like literally no more than a car length ahead of the cars that actually ran into one another there. So Darren McKenzie, he must have a rabbit's foot hanging from the inside of that, on the inside of that car there somewhere, because he's currently sitting, 4th, 5th, 6th, and he's managed to avoid the worst wrecks every time he's right there.
He's carrying a bit of rear end damage. That car, the shape of it, sort of, you'd understand this, Steve. You're from my era. Dukes of Hazzard. That's what that car looks like from this angle.
Yeah, one of the Dukes of Hazzard cars. Yeah, although they never let you see that in the TV show. But
that's one of the extras.
That's certainly what they would have looked like. Yes, exactly. So yeah, look, amazing the way this race has actually unfolded. I mean, I was asked before the broadcast by somebody who my pick was for tonight, and I said, "You got to be kidding!" I said, "Out of a field like that, how do you pick anybody?" And then when we looked at the starting grid and Terry Marwood sitting right smack at the back, and I said to watch him move forward in position, he hasn't been quite as lucky as I thought, but he's sitting in 9th position, Terry Marwood. So he's certainly done what I expected him to do. And there was no way to pick a winner for this tonight. And now with the way it's unfolded, as I said, we've got cars at the front there that haven't been anywhere in touch with the top 5 for quite some time. So, yeah, very surprising, and it's just the way things work out. Craig Lawless must be, I don't know, he's rubbing the head of a leprechaun or something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's having a great old time out there at the moment, back up to 4th place after those couple of early incidents.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do a deal with you. In 16 laps time, Steve, I'll tell you who's going to win this race.
No worries, you let me know, won't and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. The pace car lights are out once again here, folks, at Daytona, so keep an eye on Roger Clark down low. He will be leading the field off. Riley Curtis this time starting on the high line, so positions reversed. Second row, Danny G, he'll be on the low line. Craig Lawless, the high line, and the 444 Cat sponsored entry. Third row, Norman Clark and low line, and Darren McKenzie high line. Once again, Norman his car setup is not suited for that low line, so expect him to go up. Then we've got Dave Douglas and Phil Otto, 4th row. 5th row on this restart will be Terry Marwood and Darren Lord.
Just want to say good day to a couple of people in the live chat there for the stream, Bernie. Sam and TK. They're in there commenting and they're watching the race and enjoying the coverage. So how are you guys? Good day to you. There's a shout out.
Fantastic. And I feel left out. I've got no one to shout out to.
I won't make any comments about that being different from any other time, but that's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. And anyway, speaking of time to go, so Roger Clark's about to go in a minute. We're just waiting for the pace car to come in. Roger will lead the field off in the 09. He's ready to go now. He's gone. Left Riley Curtis a bit slow on that high line, but I tell you what, Danny G, he was awake to it. He's jumped down into second, and now Riley Curtis, he is joining back in third. Further back, Lawless, he's been held up on the high line there by Norman Clark. He's going to drop back. In the 08, Darren McKenzie moves forward one position.
Yeah, I'm going to have to apologise to Craig Lawless. I gave him a rap and now he's lost 2 positions on the restart. So that's obviously my fault, that one. But yeah, look, here comes Norman on the outside. He's pulling up alongside Riley Curtis. And Norman could get very lucky here in a minute. But I'm still very surprised at the pace of the number 93 car with that rear end damage. I mean, he should have really struggled at this stage of the race with it. But there's Norman on the outside. Oh, yes, and yeah, Darren McKenzie almost gives him a bit of a touch-up. And Craig Lawless is going to slip down the inside of Norman by the looks of it. and he's sitting 5th, which will, he's back into 5th now. Just getting a bit of a nose and a car length on Norman Clark, and we've got the rest of the field trying to catch up with them and make a real race out of it. But there's points, and that's the whole thing of it. It's points. If you don't finish, you don't get points. This is a series and not a one-off event. As Danny G gives Roger Clark a hard time, and Riley Curtis dropping back in behind Danny G with Darren McKenzie in behind him, and Craig Lawless and Norman Clark moving up onto the back of Darren McKenzie, and they'll try and take advantage of anything that happens from this point on.
Yeah, exactly right. And at the moment, Norman, he's still up on that high line. I don't know what it is about that car, but that's where it likes to be, going very, very high up there into turn 3 as they come back down onto, turn 2, sorry. But as they come down the back straight, at the moment, Roger Clark is leading Danny G. Looking further back, though, Phil Otto in 7th. He's been dropped off the back here. He's got Jake Blackhall desperately trying to catch up to them, but with the amount of laps to go, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it. Further down, we've got Dave Douglas all by his lonesome. Matt Clowett, he's leading Sandman Clark back up, and that's your top 10 and 11 positions.
Yeah, Riley Curtis is giving Darren McKenzie a little bit of a touch-up there. Darren was right up alongside him, and it looked like Riley was actually starting to suffer from that damage on the outside line, pretty much all on his own there without any draft. He's edging to get back in there behind Danny G, but he's half a car length alongside Danny in the 24 car, so I don't see that happening. Riley's going to have to just hold the outside line and hope for the best as we come across some back markers now, and it looks like that's going to be all safe. That's good stuff. Great driving by the back markers tonight.
Yeah, one of those back markers was the number 2, Josh Mickelmore, up there, just getting out of the way. His race is done. He's pretty much, as you said, circulating now 4 points, which is what it's all about here tonight for some of these drivers. But at the moment, Clark is leading this race with the 93 on the outside. I tell you what, when I spoke to Roger...
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah.
And Riley Curtis has given Roger a touch-up, and Roger's off into the wall.
Don't you hate that? Just when we're talking about the blokes, they crash.
That was the first thing that went through my mind, actually.
Yeah. What I was about to say was Roger was very, very nervous at the start of the series, as he always is at the start of a series, but I'd say he'd be feeling a little bit more nervous now. Let's have a look at this replay. We've got Danny G on the inside, 93 on the outside. Let's just see how this plays out. Oh yeah, Roger got into, went up high and caught Riley there, and the Magician also joined his son in that dance.
Yeah, that's going to make it interesting around the dinner table.
Tell you what, folks, if you like your action, and we're going to be having some dirt speedway action coming to RRTV soon. I tell you what, the way these cars look, they could almost go out and join the stock car races, couldn't they?
Oh, look, yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to take your word for it on that, Bernie. You've seen them. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance to. I've been too busy racing this week.
Yeah, and big line-up, folks, while we're under yellow here is basically... tomorrow night, a double header. We've got the Porsche Carrera Cup coming your way first, followed straight after by the Australian Online Supercar Championship. The V8 boys are back. And then Saturday, if you like your NASCAR action, come and join us live from 2:40 p.m. Saturday afternoon for the Daytona 500, the first of the ANZCAR Cup Series full-length race. And it's going to be awesome, isn't it? And then that's backed up by the Racing League's GT3 event straight after that. And so I'll tell you what, we've got Brad and Gary. They're staying up very late. A couple of good old NASCAR boys will be in the comm box to call all the action, and it's going to be fantastic, Steve.
Fantastic. Yeah, tell me about it. I'll be looking at it from the inside of a NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, we're going to cross to you, and we'll see if you're that smooth at 300 k an hour.
Yeah, I'll just act all laid back and, get my poker face on. Don't worry about that. No, it's going to be fantastic. I actually took part in the qualifying event for that race and did pretty well, I suppose you could say, and qualified to actually run in the full-length event this Saturday, being held by ANZCAR, and that's a quality field. They're all A-class licenses and stuff like that, except for a few of us from the peasant ranks who are actually allowed to qualify for the event, and there'll be an extra half a dozen cars in there. But the race we had to qualify for the event, the driving standard was just absolutely impeccable, and we all had an absolute blast running millimetres apart at 315 kilometres an hour. So yeah, going to be fantastic stuff on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's really great the way the ANZCAR leagues are putting all this together, folks. Last season, you saw the truck series running. That runs on a Monday night now, the KNN, I think it is series, whatever they call it. That runs Monday night. You'll see the highlights for that. Then what happens for the Xfinity series, the drivers have to qualify for this series, and that gives them that one step up. So you start in the trucks, qualify for Xfinity, then if you're good enough, you qualify for the Cup Series, and that's the best of the best ANZCAR drivers in Australia, New Zealand and Asia, and that is going to bring on some premium racing, which is what we desperately need down here, and that's what the ANZCAR Racing League are bringing to the table this year. And I tell you what, Steve, I'm looking forward to it. One of the viewers in there, Brenton O'Brien, he wanted to know who that who's commentating there tonight, and he said it's bloody brilliant. And I tell you what, I reckon he's talking about you, Mr. Hoppet.
Oh, mate, I don't know. He could just be referring to the banter back and forward between us. Good to see you enjoying it there, Mr. O'Brien. Nice to have you along. Good day to Havoc and Roger Westpark. He's out there as well, so he's watching the stream and having a good old time listening to us ramble on. Under pace car, we've got 7 laps to go, and we've got Danny G at the front with Darren McKenzie, and there's Craig Lawless in 3rd place.
And Danny G's car looks like it's just been rolled off the trucks, and he must be in a prime position. But if I talk about him enough, he will be into the wall, folks, guaranteed, because that's the way it's rolled here tonight. Yeah,
well, I'm going to try not to talk Craig Lawless up too much, because, I don't want to see him actually fall over from there because of what I have to say. So, but Phil Otto is sitting up there in 4th place. This is just amazing the way this race has been turned on its head, like literally from pace car period to pace car period. It'll be interesting to see how the positions have changed. Just incredible stuff. Phil Otto 4th, Craig Lawless in front of him in 3rd, as they decide to grid up now behind the pace car as we're going to get a start shortly. The pace car lights are out, Bernie.
Yeah, so looking at the first row, folks, let's go through them very quickly. Well, we've got another lap yet, but Danny G, he'll start on the inside. Darren McKenzie in the 08 on the outside of him. Second row on this restart, Craig Lawless, he'll be on the inside. On the outside, we'll have Phil Otto. Third row is Jake Blackhall on the inside. Don't write him off yet. And Matt Clowett on the outside. Then looking back to the 4th row, Stephen Sandman Clark will be starting out as 7th, and he has on the outside Dave Douglas in the number 10. Looking back to the 5th row, Darren Lord in the 015. He'll start on the low side, and he's joined by Terry Marwood in the 7 on the high side.
And the guy I gave a shout out to, having 12, is actually Shannon Mason, Bernie. With him being out of the event, he's decided to watch the stream and catch up what's happening while he sits back there in the transporter in the pits and watches how this rest of this race unfolded. So good day to you, Shannon. Shame to see that happen to you, mate, but that's racing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the other guys that have joined him in the pits is Thomas Hinds. He got out of the car and called it a night very early after that big incident. Jake Maloney, though, he was our first retirement. And the walking wounded, we've got David Webb, Jason Martin still circulating out there for points, James Zeitz, Josh Micklemore, Josh Carroll Walden, Darren O'Brien, Edward Foster, and the list goes on. But let's get back up to the front because that's where the action is, folks. 5-lap sprint here. And if there's another caution, it will finish under yellow. But let's hope that doesn't happen. So I'm going to call it. I'm going to go for Danny G, mainly because his car looks the nicest out there at this point in time.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to call it because I don't want to put the jinx on anybody.
Oh,
basically.
Oh, man.
I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because as soon as I actually name somebody, there's going to be another caution. So I'm just going to go happy to see the guys there at the front that are there that have managed to stay there at this point. And I'm keeping a close eye on Phil Otto, though, I've got to tell you, because he's still in there with a fight and he's in with a chance. Car number 97, Jake Blackhall. There's a tremendous amount of damage on the right-hand side of that car. And Phil Otto right alongside Craig Lawless with Jake Blackhall trying to get his nose up in there for third. But Danny G and Darren McKenzie leading this pack. And there's a breakaway pack of 4 cars a bit further back. And one of them is Jason Martin, who's still plugging away for the points there. But yeah, this could be a fantastic finish. 4 laps to go, Bernie.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Jake Blackhall, he's bringing the 96 Stephen Sandman Clark, Dave Douglas there, coming back up on the low line here. The number 8, he's starting to give Danny G a push along. He can see them coming. He's getting a bit worried here. 3 wide, 444 threading the needle, 97. That's Jake Blackhall on the inside. It's the 66 Phil Otto on the outside. The guys they're going to hit the go pedal now. It's time to go if you want to win the Daytona 175.
Yeah, look, barring any incidents, I'd have to agree with you. I think we're seeing our finishing position for first and second. But third place is still up in the air as Phil Otto makes a move on Darren McKenzie around the outside. But that embankment's going to cost him a bit of speed. But watch Phil Otto go when they hit this back straight. This is just going to be fantastic stuff this last couple of laps, Bernie.
Certainly is, and at the moment, Blackhall, he was searching high, searching low, had nowhere to go there, but Lawless on the 444, and then the 66 there, pretty much too wide. Now Dave Douglas comes to the high line. What's he going to do here? Is he going to try to go 3 wide? Thinking about it, nowhere to go. Danny G still leading this race, but they're starting to close in on him. The 08 now, he wants to jump up, but he can't. He's being boxed in by Otto on the outside, and at the moment Danny G is in the box seat, but 3 laps to go. The Hoppet jinx could still bite.
Well, we do what we can for the outcome of the race, Bernie.
Yeah, so once again Otto on the high line, and he's just holding him there, boxing in the 8. He's got nowhere to go. They're going to go 3 wide as they come off turn 3 here, or turn 2, sorry, onto the back straight. No, they're not. Tell you what, 2 laps, when do they go, or can they go? That's going to be the question. Now look at Danny G pushing Otto up, and jumps back down to cover that line. He doesn't like him sitting up there, but he's just going to have to get used to it because Otto's going nowhere. Dave Douglas all of a sudden up into 4th position on the high line. Keep an eye on him. He's moved up from about 8th position, and he's starting to play a factor in this race with 1 to go.
Look, with 1 lap to go, Danny G, Darren McKenzie, Phil Otto still challenging for a podium spot. If he can hold that position, he'll go 3rd. If he gets lucky, we're going to have a photo finish next time around. Oh, we're going to finish under caution, Bertie.
We're finishing under caution. The caution is not out, though. We're still going. We've got a car on the high line smoking badly, but these guys are still racing to the line. I'm pretty sure that they haven't lifted, and it's still going on here.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened, Bernie. The pace car's not out. We are under green. I felt sure we were about to see the pace car come out. It obviously hasn't come out because that is it, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, final corner now. Danny G's leading him across the line. The 08 right behind him. Otto on the high line going for second. Danny G's going to take it though. He takes the Daytona 175 as they crash just across the line, as is the tradition. And that was Craig Lawless going around. Dave Douglas involved. Poor Jake Blackhall also finds the inside wall. And that pretty much will say night-night to the 97. I reckon he can just kiss it and tuck it into bed and dream of better races.
Well, it's good news for the Mr. Sandman as well. Stephen Clark, he's brought it home fourth after everything that's happened tonight and the up and down with the different dramas. Danny G, Darren McKenzie, Phil Otto getting on the podium from at one point looked like he was too far back in the field and wasn't going to get anywhere near the front. Brought it home in third on the podium with Stephen Clark right behind him and Matthew Clowett actually bringing up fifth place to round out the top five.
Yeah, we'll go through the positions very shortly, but well done to Danny G. And I'll tell you what, he would have had his heart in his mouth for those last 5 laps, but he takes the win. Let's have a look at our full results, and we can see where your favourite driver finished. So Danny G takes the win in the number 24. Second was Darren McKenzie in the 08. Phil Otto, he comes home third on the 66. Stephen Sandman Clark, as you said, Steve, he comes home in fourth. Matt Clowett, he finishes in fifth. The number 10 of Dave Douglas comes home in sixth. Craig Lawless, seventh. Eighth, Jake Blackhall. Ninth, Terry Marwood. And rounding out your top 10 is Darren Lord. Did you want to go through the next 10?
Yeah, where did you get up to? Darren Lord, was it? Yeah, okay, so Norman Clark, that's your top 10. Norman Clark, I was watching the on-track antics then, actually, so I got a bit distracted, but 11th place, Norman Clark. Riley Curtis in 12th. Daniel Stevens, 13th. Roger Clark brings it home, 14th after all that, with Stephen Williams right behind him, number 15 on the finishing positions. Edward Foster, 16th. Darren O'Brien, 17th. We're starting to see some of the cars that didn't finish, with Joshua Carroll Walden in 18th place. Josh Micklemore, 19th. Shannon Mason there, who's actually still watching the stream and on the live chat in 20th position. James Zeitz in 21st. Thomas Hinds in 22nd. Jason Martin in 23rd. David Webb, 24th. And rounding out the field, Jake Maloney back in 25th position with a DNF. But they'll get points, and it is a series. So that'll take them into next week's round, and hopefully fare a whole lot better.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see Danny G, our winner of round one of the Thursday Night Thunder Daytona 175, as he brings it down to victory lane here. And no doubt the crew of the 24 are going to be celebrating late into tonight.
Oh, I'd say that there'll be some hooping and hollering going on over around that transporter. So unless you're there for a party, I wouldn't go wandering past.
Exactly right. And looks like there's a few guys down there in the green room. Let's start bringing them up. And I reckon the first one we should talk to, just having a look at our finishing positions here, would probably be Stephen Sandman Clark. He's the first one in the green room. Where did he come? Fourth? I'm going to let you do the honours because, my voice is getting a bit...
Bernie. I'll drag him up. Just hold on a moment.
There you go. He's here.
Oh, there he is, just walking through the door. Oh, Sandman, how are you?
Oh, I can breathe a little bit now, boys.
What a race, mate. What a race.
Look, before I get into all that, I firstly want to apologise to Craig Lawless there in the 444. I just touched the back of his bumper going through the tri-oval, and then he sort of wiggled and gathered it back up, and I moved up to try and not hit him more, and I think I just caught the right rear, and that fired him up. And I hated that we caused a wreck there at the end, but holy smoke, like that racing, we have got a really good bunch of guys. To race that hard and side by side like we did was just brilliant.
Yeah, it does. Ignoring some of the incidents, which can't be helped on a super speedway at those speeds, with that sort of draft and the wind forces and stuff like that, and the way things just play havoc that way. It was always going to be a couple of those incidents, but it's very easy to get out of shape, obviously, and you've managed to see a fair bit of it rather than be involved in it too, didn't you?
You're not wrong, mate. I didn't qualify so well. It's got me buggered how I can be 2/10 off the pace when my foot's flat to the floor around a super speedway, but nevertheless, we made our way through the field and came up towards the front. Got involved in someone else's wreck when there was a crash in front of me, and I copped a lot of damage, and I spent the next few cautions just coming in, fixing the damage, rolling back out again. It was pretty boring for me towards the end because it was just coming in, fix the damage, roll back out again. So I think I came back from about 3 or 3.5 minutes worth of repairs to come back with a reasonably straight race car. There was no more repairs that they could do to the car. So, I certainly saw my fair bit of action, but in saying that, I was lucky enough to come through the field and I saw a lot of great driving from all the drivers. I think we're pretty lucky in this series, and everyone's got their head screwed on. And I think we put everything that happened down to tonight is just it's just restrictor plate racing, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, it's also that despite the quality of the field, everybody in there was going for it. They were racing hard, and that's what they wanted to do. It's what people want to see, and it's the sort of racing we need. Restrictor plate racing in a super speedway, there's going to be cars go loose, but because they're going hard, you guys went hard at it tonight, and it was extremely entertaining. You may be surprised because you said about in and out of the pits so much. I'm pretty sure you spent, except for a small portion of it, you were actually sitting towards the front of the field there for just about the entire race. At one point, up to third and fourth, other times still in the top 10, but you were never really out of it for any long period of time. So it's obviously the perspective from your point of view. You never felt you went that well, but from our point of view, you were pretty much there in view and in everybody's minds at the right end of the field for just about the whole race.
I appreciate that, mate. I was, in those early stages, I think I had Jack Blackhall behind me, and I sort of said to him that, look, mate, I'm just going to ride, I'm going to trail brake a little bit, and I'm just going to stay single file, and I was happy just to roll around in third and fourth, and, the outside line would try and make a move around us, but the inside line would come through again, and it was just probably a little bit too early to start racing, and then, like I said, unfortunately, we got the hybrid racing simulations Chevy into a bit of a wreck and spent the most of the night repairing it. But we knew we had to because Daytona is so aero-sensitive that if you have the slightest bit of damage, you see it on the tacho straight away. So we knew it was important in the dying stages to get this car as fixed as best we can and, try and get as much speed towards the end. And, we put ourselves in the best position possible.
Yeah, it's always easy to tell how much damage you got when you're watching that red needle on the tacho, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit disheartening. You got your foot flat to the floor and, she's not really going anywhere. So, it's all aero and, unfortunately that's the nature of the beast. But, we love restrictor plate racing. I think I can't wait to go back and watch the race because, everyone really put on a great show and regardless of what happened tonight, everyone can, hold their heads held up high because that's the nature of the beast with restrictor plate racing and, mate, I can't wait for the next round.
Look, absolutely. It was fantastic racing. There was the excitement of the incidents that we did get. And that finish just really capped things off. It would have been a real shame. When you and Craig Lawless came together, I actually said, oh, no, the pace car's coming out because I thought, but they never came. So we actually ended up getting the rest of that lap under green. So that was a great, fantastic finish. So, but look, fantastic racing tonight, a great finish in fourth place.
Thank you, mate. It's a new deal for me. I've stepped away from V8 Scops and the supercars and headed over for a bit of NASCAR racing this year. So I want to thank Trans-Tasman Racing for giving me the opportunity and, of course, Hybrid Racing Simulations for getting on board and supporting me throughout the ANZCAR series. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be so much fun. We've got a great group of guys and thanks to everyone at RRTV for all their efforts as well because, this series wouldn't be without you guys and we appreciate everything that happens behind the scenes.
You're welcome. We're enjoying it as much as the viewers are, and nearly as much as you guys, because that's the most exciting place to be in a race like this is in the car.
Yeah, it was heart and mouth stuff, holding my breath for most of the race, but geez, I'd do it all over again right now if I had to. It was so much fun.
No worries. Look, thanks very much, mate. and you get a couple of days to actually get over this before you have to do it all again next week.
Yeah, we start testing now. I think it's Rockingham, I think, the next round, if I'm right. And, yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a complete turnaround from the style of racing tonight. So that's going to really shake things up in the series a little bit too.
Not wrong. Thanks, boys. Thanks for your efforts tonight.
No worries. Thanks, Stephen Clark, 4th place. Okay, Bernie, who do you want to bring up now? You want to have a chat with one of the podium guys?
Yeah, I'm just having a look. Should we start in third? Let's go from Phil Otto. Then we'll go to Darren McKenzie if he's in the green room, which he's not. And then we'll go straight to our winner tonight, Danny G.
No worries. I've got a feeling Mr. Otto's going to be quite excited with that finish. So bring him on in and you can have a chat with him.
Fantastic. I was just listening to your nice dulcet tones and I figured I'd just let you do all the interviews and I'll go to sleep. But anyway, let's bring Phil in.
Diddly-do.
Diddly-do to you too, Mr. Otto. Well done.
How are you, Mr. Bernie?
Very good, mate. Congratulations, 3rd position tonight. I tell you what, you had that 66 up on that high line towards the end of that race and it looked like you're having a ball. But I love the paint job too, man.
Yeah, it's a corker, isn't it? Thank the guys at DPR, mate. Great painters.
Yeah, so tell the viewers a little bit about your race. It looked like, the race pretty much came to you tonight and you're very, very competitive with those last 5 laps ticking down, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I just tried to stay out of trouble. I think I got into the rear end of Riley on that first caution and end up with about 30-odd seconds of damage to repair, so I thought, I'll get that done, and if I can just stay out of trouble, we'd be laughing. And then had Dave Douglas come up behind me, I thought, you beauty, here we go. Last couple of laps, I thought we got something here for Dan, but it just didn't work out. So that's the way it goes. Good fun racing, though. Great bunch of guys.
Yeah, no, it was awesome racing here tonight. We saw some big incidents, but that's the style of super speedway racing. But on top of that, we saw some super close action, especially towards that finish. It was just absolutely fantastic and looked like your car was absolutely hooked up towards the end of it. But I'm going to hand you over to the voice of NASCAR, and that's Mr. Hoppert.
Good day, Phil. How are you?
How you going, Steve-O?
Congratulations, mate. 3rd place. Spot in the podium, so yeah, that's something to be happy with.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a great race, really good, fun race. It's going to have a really good season.
Yeah, it's going to be a great season. Tonight just turned around. It was, these guys are leading and those guys are leading and this guy's halfway back in the pack and having a terrible run. And all of a sudden, it's now this guy's leading, and it just continued to change all night. The pace car periods obviously helped. You seem to get through with minimal, if any, damage. Is that right?
Yeah, I had 30 seconds of optional repairs in that first caution. I got into Riley into his rear end. I got 30 seconds there, and I managed to get that cleaned up. And I thought, well, if I can keep clean, we're laughing. Not laughing, but, have a really good finish. And that's the way it worked out. Great fun.
Yeah, no, there was a point there where I could see you getting a decent finish out of it, but then all of a sudden I'm sitting here and I'm going on to Bernie and I'm going, look at this, here's Phil Otto. He's sitting equal 4th and he's punching his way through for 3rd. And he's challenging Darren McKenzie now. So you just really had a fantastic run when it counted, which was that last 5 or 6 laps. You put yourself into a position, and the circumstances of the race certainly helped you put yourself in a good position so that you could challenge for a podium spot at the end there. And you had a good, strong, straight car, and I think that really helped you to cut some space through the air so that you could get some speed, because I'm pretty sure Darren McKenzie thought you had him there a couple of times.
Well, I thought I had him too, especially when Dave Douglas in the 10 come up behind me. I thought, oh, you beauty, here we go. I really thought we had something, but that's just the way it is. That's super speedway racing, and you can't do anything about it. Yeah,
no, mate. Look, 3rd place. That's certainly nothing to sneeze at. And it's a series, whether it was a series or a one-off event. The 3rd place in a race like that had nothing but excitement from start to finish. That's certainly something to be happy with. And getting on the podium in this quality field is certainly no small achievement.
Absolutely, and that's all you can ask. Put yourself in position and let the cards fall where they fall. And I'm so rapt to be third place, mate. It's really, really good.
Yeah, no, great result, mate. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank the boys at DPR Racing for the paint and all the encouragement that they give out. They're an absolute awesome bunch of fellas. They really are. And I just want to thank Danny and Edwin and all the boys behind ANZCAR for putting this series on. And you too, Bernie, OOTV and Steve-O for broadcasting. Thanks, boys. Really appreciate it.
No worries at all, mate. And give you a couple of days to get over it before you do it again next week. And
absolutely.
Try and do it all over again in a completely different environment at a completely different style of track.
That's it, exactly. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate. All right, Bernie, do you want to bring up, we still don't have Darren McKenzie, so do you want to have a chat with Danny G?
Yeah, bring up the race winner in a minute, but I tell you what, before we do, Phil Otto should hold his head up very high. Started 21st tonight, came home third, and, that goes to show what a great race he had and how strong that car was towards the end of it. So well done, Phil Otto. So I'm going to bring up Danny G now, and I'm going to let you take the start on this one.
No worries, mate. I'll get it started, and then I can hand over to you and see what you want to talk to him about.
Watch that, Davin Budge.
Good day, Danny. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Congratulations, mate. Race win, round one of the season in fairly distinguished company. That's no mean feat.
No, it's not. I'm absolutely wrapped. I can't believe it.
Yeah, fantastic finish, fantastic race. But that finish was just exciting to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty intense in the car. I'm not sure what happened to the outside lane, but they were coming, and I wasn't sure I could hold them off. I was trying to push the car up there and flirt with them, trying to stop that momentum. And then I was coming to the line on the last lap, and they just weren't. The outside lane wasn't there, and I just knew if I could just get back to the bottom, and I'd cruise on through the victory.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a little bit tough for Phil to actually get past on you. It looked at one point that he was actually going to manage to get through on Darren McKenzie, who came through second. But, the outside line was always going to be tough to do it. He looked like he might have had the goods. But, as long as things were kept straight there, it was going to be awful tough to beat you on those last couple of laps because you had the line, you had the speed, and drove a fantastic race tonight, mate. So, again, congratulations on that. How was your take on? Did you get to see much of many of the incidents and stuff that took place there tonight?
I definitely caught the one with Roger and Riley. That happened right in front of me, and it was almost like a sixth sense. I could feel it coming, so I just hung to the left-hand side of Roger's car and hoped that when they hit, they would sort of move up the track, which is what they did. Unfortunate for my teammate. And there was one other wreck that I managed to drive through. I think they were the only two that I managed to see.
Yeah, there was a few in that front pack, but the majority of it happened pretty much behind where you were running for most of the night. So, but I wasn't sure what you got to see and what you didn't. But there probably would have been a couple of scary moments there, like the one with Roger and Riley. But that must have sort of got your attention when it happened.
Yeah, definitely. I was just lucky I could sort of get underneath them, and then I saw them all flipping in the rearview mirror there, and I thought if I can just stay in the lead for a couple more laps and the yellow comes out, I'll win. But it was good to actually race to the checkered flag. Yeah,
no, it was really exciting stuff in a quality field, and there was some fantastic driving tonight. The little incidents were always bound to happen on super speedway. And that sort of stuff, which we've discussed with the other drivers, and we've mentioned throughout the commentary and in the stream. But look, fantastic way to start the series. Just most incredible, exciting race to watch.
Yeah, well, that's good then. That's the main thing. As long as it's fun to watch and it's fun to drive, and it's a great series.
So I wonder if Mr. Weemers has got any questions for you. Anything you want to talk to Danny about, mate?
No questions, just a comment. One of us actually went out on a limb and called you as the winner about 6 laps before the end. The other one was sitting on the fence. Can you guess which one was whom, Danny?
Oh, I reckon Steve had my back.
No.
Sorry to disappoint you, mate, because the way things had unfolded, I just wasn't prepared to actually call the shot. Bernie was the one who called it with about six or 7 laps to go, and asked me if I wanted to name somebody, but it was partly I didn't want to jinx anybody, and partly that the way the lead had actually changed so many times tonight, I really wasn't willing to go out on a limb and name anybody.
That's all right. I'll call you out, mate. I'll call you out any time. But, yeah, no, it's good fun, Danny. Great racing, mate. And I saw you move up on there to try to slow that momentum up that back stretch. But I was watching Jake Blackhall and that coming through. But they just didn't have anywhere to go at the end. So congratulations taking out the Daytona 175 here tonight. And we'll see you next week. I think, where are we going? Rockingham.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. North Carolina. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, it's been an unbelievable experience, actually. It's very fun.
Fantastic, mate. Do you have any, have we done sponsor call out yet?
Oh, but I do. I just want to say thanks to my race team, Middle Finger Racing, West End Mazda, RRTV, WPC Concreting, Auto Kings, and RacingLeagues.com.
Fantastic. Well, we'll catch up with you again probably Saturday night, maybe. We'll see. Are you racing in the Racing Leagues GT3 series or?
No, but I'll be doing the Daytona 500 on Saturday.
Awesome. I'm gonna double down and put my money where my heart is now. You're going to take that win. Don't disappoint me. No pressure.
No, none.
To be perfectly honest, the amount of times that we've all raced at Daytona in the last 4 or 5 days, we should know this track like our own name.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Fantastic. All right, mate. Well, thanks for popping in, Danny. Go and celebrate with your team now, mate. And I guess you've got to put the Xfinity away and roll out the next-gen car for this Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's it. She's a bit of a different beast altogether, that one.
It should be great racing, though. But, I'll see you then.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Danny. Congrats, mate.
Cheers.
And I guess, Steve, you're going to be stepping out of the booth tonight. And what do? Do you go and do a marathon run to get into shape for Saturday? What's your plan?
Yeah, I'm going to do about 7 hours practice in my bed.
Fantastic. Well, that should pretty much prepare you for the 500.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I raced on Saturday at Daytona in the Gen 6. I raced Sunday at Daytona in the Gen 6. As I said, Monday in the trucks at Daytona. Tuesday in the K&Ns at Daytona. Yeah, look, and I don't think that I'm going to make my setup for the Gen 6 car for Saturday any better than it is. It really is as good as it's going to get. The times I ran and the way I started and finished the qualifying race on Sunday, I'll do some sorting laps just to keep fresh, but to be honest, I think all the work's been done for that, so I'm not going to change anything with the way things turned out on Sunday in that. And if I change the setup, I'd need shooting. So I'm pretty much ready to go in. I don't go in with any expectations on Saturday. I go in with the only expectation is to have a good time, last as long as I can. I'll be up against some pretty good stiff competition, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But as far as practice is concerned, I'll do some fun laps, but I've pretty much got the car sorted, so I don't need to stress too much about it. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I'm likely to screw it up.
Yeah, best to just get that 7 hours sleep or whatever it is you do to prepare. And, of course, we'll be back here on Saturday, folks, 2:40 p.m. The Daytona 500 broadcast starts, and we'll be joined with Brad and Gary, as I said, two boys from over in America, and they know their NASCAR. They've been born and bred on it. They probably got fed it out of a bottle, similar to what happens to the Aussie babies. But, no, it should be good fun. We've got a few more in the green room, but I'm just not sure if we've got time to interview anymore. What do you think, Steve? Do you want to do a few more interviews?
Maybe bring Riley up.
Okay.
He had a pretty good run at the end. We'll see what his impressions of the race are. Good evening, Riley. How are you?
G'day, gents. I'm good. How's yourselves?
We're not too bad, mate. We're still coming down off that buzz. That was a fantastic race to watch. Very exciting stuff.
Oh, it was pretty epic for a while there.
Mate, we just continually could not believe how you stuck to the front end of the field with the damage to the rear end of that car. Did it not feel like it was down on power or anything like that?
I picked that up in the first caution. I think Phil accidentally got me when the field was backing up. But to be honest, from where I sat, I didn't actually know that it was damaged on the rear.
It looked like you'd actually backed very fast and hard into a concrete pole. It really looked that bad. But, yeah, we just weren't expecting you to have the pace that you had in it. And a couple of restarts there, we thought you might have actually gotten swamped a little bit, but it didn't. You held your own really well. You drove really well, and it was just an unfortunate thing at the end there that you and Roger had the coming together. So other than that, it was a hell of a drive, mate, in a car that we weren't expecting to actually have the pace to be competitive, but it certainly was.
Yeah, with your super speedways, I think the front end damage is the one that affects you a lot. You can hang on a fair bit if you got rear damage and get in behind, but I noticed Roger had a little bit of front damage, and I tried to jump him and Danny G so many times around the outside, and no one went with me. And I managed to side draft for a while there, and it just kept on going. I was bloody getting the sweats up trying to keep up with them. And then, yeah, unfortunately, well, you've all seen what happened. We came together a little bit, but that's a racing incident. There was a little bit of room, and 2 into 1 didn't work.
Yeah, that's unfortunate how that happens, isn't it? 2 into 1 doesn't work. But no, look, you, until that, I mean, like I say, we were surprised at how competitive you were with the damage we could see. We just didn't think that you were surrounded by some of the cars that seemed to have either little or no damage, and you just managed to hold your own there. And it was a fantastic drive in a fantastic race, and just exciting stuff to watch. So when you get a chance, just check out the replay of the stream, and I think you'll see what we mean. It was just incredibly enjoyable stuff. So, yeah, fantastic drive, and congrats to you on that. And at least getting to the end, pick up some points, first round of the series and all that, off to Rockingham next week. So the Rock will certainly be a completely different set of circumstances.
Yeah, it's a really rough track I've found from some testing at Rockingham. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But in regards to this race, I was actually... I exceeded my expectations of being able to run up the front. Generally, I'm not too great on the super speedways, but I hung in there. It was just an unfortunate incident.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the way it goes, mate. Super speedway, and after a long, hard race, so it's it is unfortunate. So better luck next week, hopefully, on a track that will require, well, perhaps not so much speed and a lot more concentration and that sort of stuff in a quality field. We should see some great racing next week. So, yeah, so congrats on the drive. Fantastic stuff. And I'll hand you over to Bernie.
Yeah, cheers, Steve.
Yeah, fantastic drive, Riley. We were looking at the way your car was hooked up tonight. It looked the goods, but, yeah, bad luck on where you finished 12th, I think it was it?
Yeah, I managed to drag it home 12th, a lap down.
Yeah, so lots of action, but I don't really have any more questions for you. The main thing is if you've got any people you want to give a shout out to tonight.
I'll shout out to myself, Riley Curtis Designs. We've got Edward and Dave on board again this season. APCS Computer Products, CapSafe, and I'll give a big shout out to RRTV for coming back for another season and taking us to all the fans and putting on a good stream.
Fantastic, mate. Well, thanks for popping up for a chat, and we'll see you next week at The Rock.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it. I'll see you then.
See you, Riley.
So, folks, that was Riley Curtis. We've got a couple more guys in the green room. I reckon I'll bring them up and you have a very quick chat with them. I don't need to jump in on the interview. We'll wrap that up. Then we'll wrap up the night and we can all go and have a beer. How does that sound?
Yeah, I'll just do what I got to do. Bring them all up. Let's go at it.
Well, the only one we've got is Edward Foster. It looks like we've just lost Dave Douglas.
Okay, yeah, he obviously had to go. So bring Edward up. We'll have a quick chat. Edward, how you doing?
How are you, Steve? Not too bad.
Oh, we're excited, mate. We're still getting over it. Fantastic stuff. Great race to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it looked pretty good from the, I suppose, bits and pieces that I was able to see. I was only really involved, up until about lap 8 or whatever it was. So, yeah, just a case of sitting back and watching everybody else have fun, I think.
Oh, well, you've got the stream. There's a chance there to have a look at how the whole thing unfolded and went. But, yeah, believe me, it was very exciting stuff to watch. So, being an admin at ANZCAR, you must be very proud and pleased with the way it's all come together tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, I suppose, the next progression from where we were last season, running 2 series. So obviously the trucks as the Thunder and the K&N cars as I guess the more casual series, and now we're running 4 series with the Cup and the weekly Thunder, K&N, and the trucks as the feeder to this. So it's been a pretty big undertaking, as you'd know, Steve, having joined us now. But yeah, it's obviously been great. It's great for us and starting to get a bit of interest from some fairly big teams, at least big teams in the Australia NZ region. So yeah, it's been really good for us all, I think.
A little bit of interest from some of the Americans too, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, I think especially the Cup series is fairly friendly to their time zone. So we've had a little bit of contact with a few of the guys over there who say that they're sort of starting to follow it. So yeah, obviously the more exposure, the better, and just have to keep putting on good races, and the rest should take care of itself.
Well, that certainly happened tonight. Fantastic race at a fantastic track. A lot of excitement. Lost track of the number of positional and lead changes tonight, with and in between the pace car periods. So, yeah, fantastic racing. Yet another great start to another what should promise to be a fantastic season put together by ANZCAR. So, yeah, so congrats on that, and the work that's gone into it. You must be very pleased with that. So, well done on that. And yeah, so anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of people. Obviously, this is you will have noticed the livery, and it's my first night racing as part of the Riley Curtis Designs Motorsports team that he's basically started up over the off season. So he obviously showed a fair bit of confidence in me, trying to bring me into the team. And unfortunately, I wasn't really able to repay that tonight. But we're pretty much on for a good season, and both him and Dave and Tim that runs in the truck series, they're all really good guys to work with. So so that's been fantastic. And the other thing I just wanted to say is just give a quick shout out to my brother, who's he spent about the last week in hospital, and I know he's watching tonight. So yeah, hello.
No worries at all, and I think we all send a shout out to James. He's not well, so he's going to be missed as an obvious absence from the upcoming series. So a lot of people enjoyed racing against James. So hopefully we'll see him back very soon. So get well, James, from everybody at ANZCAR and RRTV. So we'll wrap that up now, and yeah, everybody get ready for next week.
Yeah, fantastic, Steve. That was an awesome interview. I didn't realise James was crook, but mate, I hope you get better soon, and hopefully we'll see you back out here soon. But as far as looking at the tomorrow night, it all starts again, folks, and it kicks off first with the Porsche Carrera Cup. So that's going to kick off. Our broadcast will start at 8:15 p.m. and that will be another great race. We're basically this week going to Donington National, and it'll be a sprint race, and then straight after that at basically 9:45 p.m, the Australian Online Supercar Championship will be taking to the track for another sprint race at Donington as well. So that'll be your Friday night action. And as I was saying, 2:40 p.m. Saturday afternoon, the Daytona 500, followed up after that by the GT3 Racing League Series, which will pretty much cap off our week of broadcasts this week. But Steve, as always, it's been a pleasure having you up here, mate. And the race seemed to go off pretty well.
Mate, everything went fantastic tonight. I've only got one complaint. I think those biscuits on that plate have been there for a couple of days, so we need a fresh packet of bickies in the commentary box next week.
Well, you know what you can do with the bickies. I brought the cockroach, you bring the biscuits. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, I'll bring the bickies next week. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
All right, no worries. And look, thanks for having me along again. Good day to everybody out there who's caught the stream tonight. I hope you enjoyed the action brought to you from beautiful, iconic Daytona Super Speedway on RRTV. So I'll allow Bernie to close off, and I'll make myself scarce. Good night, all.
And don't take the biscuits. Yeah, thanks, folks, for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed tonight's coverage. As Steve said, hopefully you'll come back tomorrow night and watch the Carrera Cup boys go at it, and the V8 supercars are always a favourite on our channel. But until then, folks, happy Friday, and look forward to having your company again tomorrow night. Good night.